Hello everyone! It's been a long time since I've done a voiceover video, but I wanted to show you guys this video I took when I first got my brand new iPad. I actually bought it back in October, but I never got around to editing the video for it until now, so I'll be sharing this unboxing video, why I got the iPad, and my thoughts based on having had it for a couple months now. I wanted an iPad in the first place because I wanted to be able to draw digitally outside of my home. I do a little bit of traditional drawings too, but I'm primarily a digital artist, and I already have a separate PC with a Cintiq 22. I used to travel quite a bit, going to different conventions and conferences and things, and just overall being out and about. Unfortunately, we can't travel much now, but eventually when it is safer to do these things again, I wanted something I could take with me to draw when I'm outside. So, with all that in mind, the iPad I ended up purchasing is the iPad Pro 2020, 11 inches with 256 gigabytes of memory. I actually got the iPad Pro 2020 over the iPad Air because I heard that some of the specs on the iPad Pro are still better for drawing purposes. I'm not super techy, and there are a lot of great videos out there that cover the differences between all the different types of iPads, so I won't go into too much detail there. But the iPad Pro has, I believe, a faster display refresh rate, 2 gigabytes extra RAM, and a extra GPU core in the processor. I can't actually say if any of these make a difference since I never got to try drawing on a iPad Air, but for me, these advantages seemed like the iPad Pro would be worth the extra cost in the long run. The size of the iPad was what actually took me the longest time to decide. Here you can see me compare the iPad to a A5 notepad for size reference. At first I was really worried that the 11-inch was going to be too small since I had a Cintiq that was 22 inches, but it's actually a very good size. I talked to some artist friends beforehand, and a lot of them told me that the 12.9-inch iPad is really nice to draw on, but it's so big that it is a little bit more like a laptop and kind of too heavy to either have in your lap to draw on or hold up with one hand. Since I wanted something that was portable, I ended up buying the 11-inch size. I actually think it's a really nice size. It's big enough for most drawings, and it's really easy to carry around. For internal memory, I went with 256 gigabytes because I thought that would be about how much I would realistically use over the next couple of years. I still have a phone that I would use for pictures and most apps and everything else, so I mainly based my decision on how much my drawings would take in terms of memory. On my home computer, I have about 150 gigabytes worth of art-related things, and so I figured 256 gigabytes would probably be able to last me a couple years and still have a lot of wiggle room for anything else I wanted to put on the iPad. In addition to the iPad Pro, I also got the second generation Apple Pen to go with it. It does feel quite heavy for its size, but the matte finish is really nice, and I do like how sleek it looks. I actually also got mine engraved with my art handle, so it was pretty exciting. It did bother me in the beginning that it was like another extra $100+ in addition to the iPad, but I do get that this way the cost isn't wrapped into the iPad, and so people who didn't want it wouldn't have to pay for it. I also got this matte, gritty paper texture screen protector. I did try out the iPad plus the Apple Pencil previously at an Apple store, and I just really disliked how slippery it felt without any kind of screen protector. So I did a little bit of digging and found that most people did agree that if you want to write or draw a lot on the iPad, a matte screen protector is really what you need. The name brand that I hear a lot is Paperlike, but I couldn't really see what made it worth twice the price of basically every other generic brand out there, so I just got one of the generic ones. I have been warned that the surface wears down the iPad pencil tip, but I haven't seen a whole lot of wear these last 2 months, and I think you can also just buy tip replacements for the pencil. The two programs I hear a lot of artists use on the iPad is Procreate or Clip Studio. I actually have Clip Studio on my PC, so I wanted to try something new, and I got Procreate first. It did take me a little bit of time getting used to, since I didn't have all the access to button shortcuts that I'm used to on my Cintiq. So I spent a couple of days just getting used to the UI, testing out brushes. Here I'm actually testing out a series of brushes by Carlitos Rhoda on DeviantArt, so I will link his download below. Procreate has a lot of really nice features like chromatic aberration, pencil and chalk type brushes are really satisfying. The one thing that is really lacking for me personally is that it seems like Procreate has brushes meant to draw and then brushes meant to blend, but not both at the same time. There are some painty brushes that other artists have made, but I still couldn't really get them to paint and blend the same way I see in other programs like Photoshop or Krita or Clip Studio. Of course, this is a very personal opinion. I just happen to prefer more painty brushes. Now, having had it for 2+ months, I think the iPad was really worth it for me. There is something just really comforting with having something close to you that you can just pick up immediately and draw. Having my Cintiq, I was actually a little bit concerned if the purchase was going to be worth it, since I already have this drawing screen. But I found that it was actually a lot easier to pick up the iPad and draw mentally than it is to make the commitment to sit and set up my Cintiq to draw something at my art computer. For me, it takes me a little bit of energy just to decide to commit to sit down and draw, but that barrier to start seems really low with my iPad. For me, this is actually the best part of having had this iPad. Also, I'm not sure if this is due to the iPad or Procreate or both, but drawing lines on the iPad is really comfortable. I don't usually do line art. I'm not particularly good at it or have the patience for it, but drawing lines on the iPad feels a lot closer to sketching on a piece of paper, and I've actually found myself doing some drawings with much more proper line art than I've done before. With all that said, I don't really think that the iPad will replace my Cintiq. The iPad is really fun to draw on, but I'm still much more comfortable finishing up full illustrations on the bigger Cintiq with my shortcuts and painty brushes. So I think I'll mainly use the iPad for sketches and base art, things like the idea part of the drawing process, and then do the cleaning and the rest on my Cintiq still. And that's it for my personal experience with my new iPad Pro. I'm really enjoying it so far. Let me know if this video was helpful to you guys, or if you already have an iPad, what your favorite thing about it is. Thank you for stopping by, and thanks for listening.